And if you're not familiar with this game, this is a game where players are each going to be starting the game with their own board of buildings, and you're going to be trying to put them out onto the board into different areas on a grid. And the way that you do that is by reserving different sections of the grid through purchasing lot cards, and then getting enough lot cards to form the shape that you need in order to place that building, and then you'll be able to put your building on that location. And this one is going to be my pick of the week because it really is a fun and simple game to teach, and it also looks incredible, especially when you paint the buildings. But I also want to add the caveat that this game is really overproduced. There is a ton of plastic in this game, and the game isn't really that complicated or heavy, so it's up to you to decide whether or not it deserves this treatment. And of course, with all that, it's going to take up a lot of space on your shelf. I saw this photo before I saw the actual game, but when I actually saw the real box, I knew for sure that I wasn't going to buy this game. Even though I really would like the game in my collection, I just can't afford the space for what it is. And each player is going to be starting the game with 6 random lots assigned to them by drawing those cards from the deck, and then you're going to be taking the remaining cards, splitting them into 3 roughly equal decks, and then you're going to be going through each deck in a single round. So of course the game plays over 3 rounds, and players are going to be taking turns performing one of 3 actions. You can either buy one of the lot cards from the market, which will allow you to put a claim token on that area on the board, or you can build one of your buildings onto the board, but in order to do that you have to have claim tokens on all the spaces that you're about to cover. And a neat thing about this is that you can actually build buildings over your existing buildings. As long as you own all the spaces, you can swap out smaller buildings with bigger buildings when you're able to do so. And the third option is to just gain some coins, and you're going to gain 5 coins automatically, plus an additional coin for each building that has a coin icon on it. And then once all the lot cards are depleted from the deck of cards for that round, that's going to trigger the end of the round, and there's a few things that are going to happen at that point. Players will each gain victory points based on their total population, which is dictated by the buildings with the population icons on them, and then also whoever has the highest population at the end of that round will gain some bonus victory points. And players will also be gaining victory points for any of the civic buildings that they were able to build. And these ones are really interesting in the way that they score because they don't have a victory point value themselves. Instead, they gain victory points based on what's built around them. And it doesn't have to be your building around them. It could be any player's building. As long as it matches the requirements of your civic building, you're going to be gaining victory points for that. And then finally, players are going to be gaining coins based on the numbers of any of their buildings that have a coin icon. The game continues like this, and then at the end of 3 rounds, the player with the most victory points wins the game. And this is going to be adding everything from the previous campaign, but it's also going to be adding the new expansion, which is going to incentivize players to build around the perimeter of the map, because you're going to get some additional bonuses if you're able to do that. And if this one interests you, and if your shelf can support it, I have links in the description below.